Weaving baskets is as old a Cherokee tradition as pottery making. Osio Nagad, Jennifer Lauren Dawado. Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer Lauren, Cherokee Nation citizen and host of Osio, Voices of the Cherokee People, and Senior Director of Cherokee Film. Welcome to Chalagi wherever we are. Basketry is a persistent utilitarian art form handed down for thousands of years over countless generations, and today it continues to evolve and bring us new gifts. We are excited to have three Cherokee National Treasure basketry artists with us today: Vivian Cottrell, Bessie Russell, and Mike Dart. We'll start today's show with remarks from Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr. Then Chief Hoskin will join me to talk a little bit about his take on the basket weaving tradition and what it means to him and to the tribe. After that, we will see an interview led by Deputy Chief Brian Warner with Cherokee National Treasure Bessie Russell, an octogenarian who has been making baskets and teaching new generations of weavers for almost 5 decades. Next is our panel discussion, where we will welcome Vivian Cottrell and Mike Dart for a discussion about inspiration, the materials they use, and their passion. And finally, we are excited to have Kaylin Fay in the studio with us. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. for his remarks.
OCO friends and fellow Cherokees, today we gather to honor and celebrate a cherished tradition within our tribe, the revered art of Cherokee basket making. This ancient craft, deeply entwined in our history, stands as a testament to both our inherent creativity and our connection to the natural world. But for Cherokees, basket making is much more than a craft. It reflects our cultural values and enduring spirit. For centuries, Cherokee artisans have transformed river cane and other natural materials into functional and beautiful baskets. They were dyed with a wide range of colors, using things like bloodroot and hickory. These baskets were used in everyday life for storage, carrying goods, and in ceremonial practices. They blended practicality with artistry. Today, just as it's been throughout history, creating a Cherokee basket requires immense skill and patience. For example, harvesting the materials requires an understanding of the environment and respecting our precious natural resources. Additionally, the classic weaving techniques have been passed down through the generations. They tell unique stories through patterns and designs. Our ancestors had a special relationship with the earth and the natural environment, which is reflected in basketry. Some of the distinctive motifs in traditional Cherokee baskets feature nature and geometric patterns. Despite challenges for our people, including forced removal and cultural suppression, basket making has endured. Talented artists within our tribe have preserved these techniques, and they remain vibrant today. On this edition of Cherokee Wherever We Are, we honor master weavers whose dedication keeps our basket traditions alive. You'll hear from multiple national treasures whose work bridges the past and future, strengthening our cultural identity. More importantly, as we celebrate Cherokee basket making, we reaffirm our commitment to preserving and promoting our Cherokee culture and support the artisans who uphold these sacred traditions. These practices help fuel our pride as Cherokee people. Wado.
Wado, Chief, and thanks for joining me to talk about the rich history of basket weaving. So really, you can't just classify basketry as a tool, although it is used as such, or not just a piece of art, although many of us adorn our homes and offices with them. What's your take on art versus tool?
Well, I think it's a debate maybe not worth having, because if you use it as a tool, the beauty of our Cherokee artists, their creations, it's a work of art. Now, I have to admit I have one on my desk and it's got office items in it, but if you're going to store things on your desk in an office, why not do it in style? And if a Cherokee made a basket, that should be on there. But baskets are, and basketry and the art of basketry is really special to us. It's accessible to a lot of people that can learn the craft, and of course some people have mastered it, and we'll have some of those folks on the show.
Yeah, baskets are often used as cultural exchanges or given as gifts when we go places and meet people. So as Chief, can you recall some dignitaries or situations where you gifted a Cherokee basket and what those exchanges signify to Cherokee people?
Well, as a general matter, we've done that a lot, and they're very special to us because we're sharing part of what it means to be Cherokee, usually with someone who is non-Cherokee, someone that may be from far away or with a different institution or government. That feels special. It feels like we're not only honoring them but honoring the person who made it and honoring ourselves collectively, because it's part of what it means to be Cherokee, reflected, depicted in a beautiful basket. So we do that a lot, often with dignitaries from the government of the United States and the state of Oklahoma, other tribes. I'll tell you one that I will always remember and cherish is the First Lady of the United States. Dr. Jill Biden came to Cherokee Nation to learn more about our language program, which is another really important mission that we're on. And our First Lady, January, and I got to gift her a basket. This was an amazing basket. It was a huge basket. It was made by Cherokee National Treasure Mike Dart, and that is in the White House. And so it really says something that here we are closing out the first quarter of the 21st century, and we have occasion to host a dignitary like that, share our culture, and then know that it's in a prominent place where other people can see the beauty that is Cherokee basketry. That'll always stand out in my mind.
That's pretty cool. So we have a lot of Cherokee Nation citizens who are talented basket weavers. Many of them live here, but I know weavers who live on the West Coast and other places. So can you tell us what you think about Cherokees, no matter where we are, learning how to weave, or if not weaving, purchasing Cherokee baskets?
Yeah, well, purchasing is good because you support this artist community, and so I want to encourage everybody to do that when they can and where they can. Authentic Cherokee basketries made by a Cherokee Nation artist. One thing about basketry, it's not that it's easy, but it is very accessible, and so you can start with not really knowing much, following some instructions, and then you start to learn. Of course, you get to somebody like Vivian Cottrell's level or Mike Dart's level, and these are the master class. But this is something that if you go to community meetings near and far, and I see this a lot at at-large meetings, you see a lot of little kids working the day making their basket with their parents. You love to see that. And some of them at the end of the day will be showing off their baskets, and that tells you two things. One is it connects with people, no matter their age, and the other is that it's doable. And so one of the benefits of spreading our culture is people can practice it. And so basket weaving in particular is something people can go to one of our community meetings if they happen to live at large near one of those gatherings, and we have a lot of them. But it's also something that with some instructions, and we provide this instruction from time to time virtually and remotely, you can get those materials or some materials comparable and you can start. We love to see that because our culture is only going to survive if a great many of us practice it. That basketry is one way we do it. Absolutely.
Well, Principal Chief Hoskin, again, appreciate every opportunity to hear your insights, especially into this wonderful form of basket weaving. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Widow. We now join Deputy Chief Brian Warner as he sits down with Cherokee National Treasure Bessie Russell, a prolific weaver who has helped teach basket weaving to countless people in her community.
Wado, Jen. Well, C.O. Nagad, hello everyone, and we're here to welcome each and every one here with longtime National Treasure, Miss Bessie Russell. I can't tell you what an honor it is today to get to talk to you about everything with basketry. I know it is something that is a passion of yours, and let's kind of get started. I think the audience needs to know like where you're from and kind of how long you've been doing basketry. So if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you got into this.
Okay. I grew up around in the North Ford community, and I still reside there.
Okay.
And I'll probably be there from now on,
Yeah.
you know. And I took up basket weaving. I'm trying to figure out what year, but I think it was back in the 70s.
Okay. Excellent.
But I didn't stay with it. I was working, had kids,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
so I had to put that aside for a few years. But then later on, I would say about the early 90s, another living treasure inspired me to get back into it.
Right.
And so she's the one that introduced me to the honeysuckle and backbrush.
Okay. Okay.
And it just, from there, here it is. Here I
Yeah,
am. I'm
yeah.
still doing it, and I enjoy every bit of it, you know. Still teaching, having class once in
Okay.
a while, you know, not as regular as I was, you know, but I'm just enjoying it as much as they are, I think. I'm really happy with them. They're fast learners, some of them. My goal for that is for them to learn what they want to learn, you know, and as long as it takes.
Right.
But some of them have said, I'm going to teach my grandkids, you know, so that's encouraging.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Other than that, that's all I do.
Right, right. Well, and I know today, you know, being here with you, it is a very big honor for me and for others that will be able to watch this and learn. But we have several different styles here and different things. Can you tell me a little bit about which one of these might be the oldest method or whatever that we have here?
Well, the oldest one would be that one which is a flat reed, what we call flat reed.
Okay, okay.
And I don't do flat reed very much.
Right.
My thing is the round reed, you know, and honeysuckle, and I don't even do a whole lot with buckrush.
Right.
You know, honeysuckle's my thing.
Okay.
And as far as the dyes goes, we use mostly 2 colors. As far as I can remember, that was my first flat reed that I made, and I was even teaching.
Well, you know, and looking at you talking about doing dyes and things, and we're talking about how this one is one of the older ones. Some more of the contemporary works are really they really stand out to me. Can you tell me a little bit about these vegetables and different things that you do? I mean, is this just something that comes into your mind and you just start to create that basket?
Yeah, really. You know, a lot of times what in your mind you have in your head, you know, it don't normally turn out the way you got it in your head.
Right.
But if it don't go the way you see it in your brain,
Yes, ma'am.
then you just have to go along with change. Go with the change that basket does what it wants to do.
Right, I got you. So just like the carver will start talking about that wood will take you on a journey. I'm assuming that a lot of times the basket and the reed will take you on a journey as well. Now, when you're weaving these, you know, I know you said you're from Rocky Ford, and I know for a lot of folks may not have been through there. It's one of the prettiest places on the Cherokee Nation Reservation. When you're weaving, do you ever think about old memories and people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember my mom or anybody in my family doing baskets.
Okay.
You know? But this is just something that I even get amazed at myself for staying with it this long.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll stay with it till I can't do it no more.
Yes.
Right now, I'm not doing a whole lot because I've got arthritis,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
all that
Yes, ma'am.
carpal tunnel, you know, and when those flares up, I just can't do much.
Oh, I understand.
No, so.
Understand. Now, when you're teaching, let's talk a little bit about passing down this tradition. You know, we were talking earlier about how some individuals get started. Can you tell me about how, if somebody, say I was new to your class, what would be one of the first things that you would start walking me through if I was coming in and saying, Bessie, I want to learn how to make a basket like you?
Well, I guess the first thing that I would want you to learn or tell you about is starting the bottom. Let's find one that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you start all of them.
Right.
About this, like that.
Okay.
And no matter how big your basket's going to be, you always start same way.
Yes, ma'am.
The bigger basket you want, the bigger your bottom will have to be, you know.
Right. Okay.
And when you get the bottom as big as you want, then you start shaping it. Mm-hmm. And shaping it means, you know, going up.
Right. Right.
So that is the hardest part for everybody.
To get started?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I try to tell them practice, you know, even at home, you know, just you short reed just to practice with. You don't have to make it into a basket, just practice it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But as I said, that's how every one of them starts.
Well, you know, too, something that intrigued me earlier, you were talking about your favorite materials. And you mentioned honeysuckle and buckbrush, and then I know there's commercial reed and different things. Did you ever, is it hard to get the honeysuckle and the buckbrush, or do you still have people that go out and gather it in the wild, or you have to buy all of it pretty much?
I don't believe in buying
Yes, ma'am.
traditional material like that.
Yeah.
Because I always believe that once money changes hands, it becomes commercial.
Gotcha. Okay.
know.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So I gather it myself.
Okay. Well,
I'd rather go out there in the woods and gather it besides making a basket.
you bet. Well, that's therapy in itself. And
Yeah.
like you said, going out and going into the woods, for me, that gathering, that part of it, that traditional sense of what you're doing that's therapy. You're passing down that tradition, and there's no telling, Bessie, by the time that my kids my youngest is 9, no telling by the time that he's in his 40s and 50s how many generations that you have touched by these traditional practices and stuff. And we want to say a big wadon from myself and Principal Chief Chuck Hoskins Jr. for you being able to get out there and taking the time. Bessie, I don't know, there's not many people that will in today's time that will take that time that it takes to teach individuals this. So very special for me, and I know it's always special for you.
Since I don't have to be doing all the things that
Yes, ma'am.
I'm teaching,
Right.
that makes it easier for me.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well, that's special to be able to continue the work, but through the hands of others,
yeah.
Yes.
And I keep telling them, don't try to make them the way I do. You're going to create your own style.
Okay, right.
And don't stay with that same style all the way through.
So the basic foundations of what you teach are how to get started and what the material is, the preparation.
Yeah, that was why I started teaching this, because I told them I wanted just to do the basics, but some of them couldn't go faster than others, and of course when they get ahead, you have to teach them something else.
Right.
So.
You bet. Bessie, I just want to say it's been an honor here to visit with you today. There's so many living treasures, and so many times we don't get to take time to visit with them, and I am just very, very honored to be here.
I'm glad to meet
Yes,
you, because
ma'am.
I hardly ever get to meet,
That's
talk
elected
to the
officials.
chief
Yeah,
or anybody,
yes.
but it sure is nice that you invited me to do this, or I was invited to do this, and I've done it for others,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
it, as you say, it's an honor to do it with you.
Well, the honor is all mine, and I hope this isn't the last time. We need to get together more often because I feel very at home with you, Miss Russell. Well, again, wado, Miss Bessie, for sharing your knowledge and for sharing the traditions of basket weaving. And so now we're going to get back to our friends in the studio. So Jen, we're turning it back to you. So everyone, wado.
Wow, it was great to see Miss Russell again. And you can also see more of Bessie Russell and her work on OCO.tv. Wado to both of you for sharing. Now it is my pleasure to introduce 2 more Cherokee National Treasures, Vivian Cottrell and Mike Dart. Both are very active in the whole process of basketry, from gathering of raw materials to processing the vine, making the natural color dyes, dyeing the finished materials, and then finally getting around to the weaving. That, my friends, is quite a process. So now I want this to be a conversation with you both. Thank you, Wado, for joining us today. Thank you. Yeah, and just feel free to chime in if you want to add something to the conversation. Vivian, I'll begin with you, and then Mr. Dart, you can respond as well. Tell us how you came to begin basket weaving.
I've always been around baskets. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandfather were all basket makers, and it was when I was about 13, I started weaving. Then it just grew from there. I was comfortable with honeysuckle and buckbrush, and we would go out and gather that, just me and my mother. And then later on, I began with the flat reed, which was the white oak and now river cane. So I just, I like all the natural materials, and it's been a 52-year adventure.
Well, your baskets are beautiful, and thank you for bringing some of them today. Mike, how about you?
Well, my paternal grandmother wasn't a known basket maker, but she did make baskets like for function. And whenever I was little, before I started school, I was always around her. And so I would watch her make baskets. And, you know, I kind of got an interest whenever I was a kid. Well, whenever I got into high school, our Indian Heritage Club had a class, and they taught baskets. And I started through that, and I just kind of taught myself, you know, from that one class, you know, from the basket class in school, and worked with commercial reed, you know, for most of the years. And then about 2005, whenever I got really serious into it, you know, and I started entering competition. 2007, entered my first show. Didn't win for, you know, 5 years probably, but both of my entries sold in that first show. So, you know, that just, the bug, you know, I got
Lit
the
a
bug
fire,
right then.
yeah.
And just been going ever since, you know, teaching myself, you know, a little bit here and there.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we often talk about with baskets is, how do you categorize basketry? Is it an art form, or is it a functional tool for everyday use? What are your takes on that?
Oh, it's both, actually.
Both.
It's we started out with the river cane. They were utilitarian type baskets, pre-contact, and with the European contact, it became more of into the woods. We didn't have the wood baskets like the Europeans had, and they brought that over, and that was one of our. And it's always evolving, so it's utilitarian, and then more recent is an art form. You know, I enjoy weaving, like I said, all types of materials. I enjoy the river cane most because it's our most traditional, and then I also dip into the contemporary form of black ash too.
Okay.
And
It's definitely both, you know, both the function and art form. And it's probably the oldest continuous art form that has continued nonstop, you know, in some form since pre-contact. It's evolved, you know, over the years, but it's always continued some way. And, but yeah, definitely both.
So I see that both of you brought some raw materials as well as some finished pieces. And we heard earlier from Bessie about gathering vine runners. Can you tell us how those are processed for weaving? You don't just pull them up and start weaving, and anything else you can tell us about the raw materials?
okay, well, there's always a time that I was taught to go out and gather the runners, the vine runners. The honeysuckle and buckbrush, usually after the first frost, and you know, all the snakes, ticks, and chiggers are down for a while until it gets too cold. Then I always coil them up and then hang them up in our little place in the garage. And the same for the river cane. Well, no, not so much for the river cane. River cane you can pretty much gather any time of the year, but I still prefer to go out after the first frost and gather, harvest the river cane, and that's what I do in the wintertime, is I split and peel cane as I go out to the cane breaks. I don't over-harvest, just enough that I feel that I can weave for the next 6 months. And when I do the harvesting in the fall, I also have the black walnut. I'll get that as it falls. You can probably use all the black walnut, the hulls, the leaves, the bark, the root, and I found that the black walnut root makes the darkest brown, and I've been using that. Also, when I get ready to dye my material, especially the river cane, it's very dense, and it isn't as porous as the honeysuckle or the buckbrush runners. I have to fix my dye up. Let's just say the black walnut dye. I'll put that in a jambalaya pot, and then it's a hard boil for 2 days. And I will let the pot go in the morning, all day until too far at night. Then I'll turn it off, let it sit, and then the next day I'll put it to full boil again, and I check it. You have to put water in there as it boils down. But the black walnut, I love that color on the river cane. The bloodroot, I'll dye that in the spring.
So is that what we're
I'm
looking
sorry.
at here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the black walnut, and that's what's on this basket.
Okay.
And then the bloodroot. It takes the river cane takes the bloodroot real easy, so I can do that in one day. But the bloodroot will take 2 days on that dye. And then, like you said, the weaving's easy. It's just a 6-month process of just splitting and peeling enough cane to weave the next 6 months. And I've done that for several years now. The honeysuckle and the buckbrush are much easier materials to process and go through that. For me, the white oak was another process that I had to learn. My mother was a white oak weaver, and when she asked me, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and she asked me if I would want to learn, and I said no. And I was very, she made it look so easy, and I said no. I'll do honeysuckle and buckbrush. That's all I want to do. And she passed away without me obtaining that knowledge, and so I had to learn that on my own, and I have. And she made it so easy because I don't. I wish I could, but I can't. I do my best with it. And I've always used the basket weaving knowledge with the honeysuckle and buckbrush, and I applied it to river cane and white oak.
Well, your baskets are gorgeous and sought after, might I add, so I think you figured it out quite well. Mike, what materials are your baskets made out of? Is this honeysuckle, and what can you add?
Yes, this is honeysuckle. I'm a contemporary weaver for the most part. I use a lot of machined wood splints, white ash, and cherry wood, maple. This is honeysuckle, and it is woven around white ash. And I've added some white ash wood splints around the top. Then I lashed it with honeysuckle dyed with bloodroot. And this is bloodroot dye.
Okay.
Right here. I do the process, the same as she does, as she spoke. My walnut, I do it a little bit different. As the water boils out, I will add more walnuts into it whenever I put more water into it, because it just, and I'll boil more of the color out of the walnut. And for me, that works better. I wasn't taught that. It's just something that I've, accumulated, come up with on my own. The bloodroot, pretty much exactly the same way she explained it. The bloodroot seems to take a lot easier, like what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Walnut's a lot more time consuming.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to boil. Like you said, a hard boil for 2 days, and then I boil for, a few hours every day for like over about 2 weeks,
Okay.
sometimes to get
Wow.
it darkened. Walnuts kind of finicky too, because like I can do the exact same thing this year that I did last year and not get the same exact color. I think the weather might affect that or something. And I always tell people, if you can get a piece of the walnut root, that's where the color comes from, like what she said.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have nothing to add. She
Yeah.
covered that pretty well.
What are these other baskets around, if you want to?
Okay, well,
Tell
this
us what
is
they are.
this is an arrow quiver. It's woven out of machine cut white ash,
Okay.
dyed with bloodroot,
Okay.
and this is no, that's commercial reed. I thought it was hickory bark, but it's commercial reed after I look at it. That's honeysuckle, and this is hemp.
Okay.
That I wove. This is I guess you'd call it a laundry basket or a harvest basket.
Okay.
Woven out of the same material, dyed with blood or walnut and Osage orange. And the Osage orange is not a traditional Cherokee dye. It's something that we've started using in Oklahoma, and it's the wood shavings from the bodark tree. And you kind of do it the same way you do blood, you just boil it, you know, but it takes a lot easier, I think.
Wow. Well, the process is just incredible, and I've seen you all do this work, and it is so time consuming, and I think most weavers today actually use commercial reed, which saves on that time. But I wonder, which materials do you prefer? And maybe even which patterns do you prefer and why?
Oh, well, for me, it's definitely the river cane. Back in the early 80s, my mother and I were so proficient in our materials that we were using. She mentioned that river cane was our most traditional, that we didn't have that knowledge here in Oklahoma. So, and we were, she passed away. We tried every way. We didn't have any material, reading material on how to process it at the time. And we even went to North Carolina, and at that time, they didn't share information. That was pre-internet. And so after she passed away, it was several years, then I got interested in it, and I was just, like I said before, is just the basket weaving knowledge I had. I applied to the river cane, and it took me several years. Over that time too, I acquired other information. Other people were willing to share with me the type to gather and all that. But once I had that, and I don't do anything easy. I love double weaves, the double weaves where we start in the center, inside, and then we'll weave out to the corners, turn our corners up, and that starts our diagonal. And then we roll our rims down and create the pattern there. This one is a continual weave, so you have the color you start with on the outside. On the inside, on the outside, and then you finish. Most baskets, and what I try to do is create the same pattern that's on the inside as on the outside. So this pattern is, if it was taller, you could see it was flowing water.
Okay, yeah.
And let's see, this one.
Gorgeous. You can't tell where it begins and ends, which is so interesting. Yeah, it's great.
So that's my favorite, is the double weave. But on the single, it was the rim that was a little intimidating for me, is that we have a certain type of rim that identifies with Cherokee. And this one is out of my collection, our collection. It's river cane. Let's see, you can probably see a chain design in there.
Yes.
And then does that double chief's daughter this way? And there's mountains.
Yep.
Mountains on the top. And, ooh, okay, I can't see it too close. But it was the rim that was intimidating for me. And I had a friend who was a collector in Cherokee, North Carolina, and he said, "Oh, you'll figure it out." I'm like, "If you don't know, please tell me. If I figure it out." But it took me I wouldn't say, it was a few months. I had to re-rim so many baskets, single weave baskets, until I felt comfortable with the rim, where you bind and there's a little loop.
Yeah.
And then you take
So intricate.
a splint, a dyed splint, and then you weave that through every other loop until it's a solid. And I was so happy to get that done, that I was given an eagle feather for that accomplishment. And I was like, okay, thank you. But like I said, it took years just to work through it. And the single weaves are beautiful as well.
Mike, what about you?
I prefer honeysuckle. It's my my favorite material, and because that's what I learned with. And also, I like to do contemporary work, and you can pretty much shape it however you want to shape it. Versus the more traditional patterns and stuff. But as far as these old patterns, this is my favorite pattern right here. This right here, it's called the Noonday Sun. Is what the contemporary name for it is. A lot of these patterns, we don't know what they mean anymore. You know, at one time they had meaning, but we just kind of weave them now to keep them alive, you know, keep them in our memory. But yeah, I like the single weaves. You make them larger, and I've made one like this, completed one, and I don't think I could ever figure it out again. And I actually did it from her book that she wrote. And that was the only way I could figure it, was from her book. You know, I've read the other books, instructional books, and I couldn't figure it out. But,
well, it's so great of you all to share your knowledge, and I know you've passed it on to future generations as well. And so we're so appreciative, and the work that you do is beautiful and meaningful, and thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Hopefully folks out there will have more knowledge today so they can feel more confident in picking out those special traditional pieces and modern pieces, and understanding the justification behind the higher prices for these amazing works of art. Because look how much time and effort and knowledge it takes to do it.
thank you for bringing that up.
I mean, it's really, they're treasures, and I do treat the baskets that I have purchased over the years as treasures, and maybe someday I'll get the nerve to actually use it how it's supposed to be used.
Just give it a drink every once in a while.
Just give it
It'll
a
be
drink.
fine. It'll be happy.
Okay, will do. Well, also, I know both of you are on social media, so folks can find you there, and of course
Sure.
at various art markets, like Cherokee Art Market, which is one of my favorite times of the year, which happens every fall at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. So please be sure and seek out our Cherokee basket makers and buy their baskets, and know the time and effort that goes into it, and the knowledge that they have brought into that, and a lot of prayers and thoughts that I know you all share while you're weaving too. So
Thank you. Yeah, we do.
Wodo for your time today.
Thank you.
Finally, we welcome back Cherokee musician Kaylin Faye. What a treat.
Well, it's been a long time since I felt the wind move, strong and swift like a river's current, cool like the prairie moon, cool like the prairie moon. And the train's been humming, sweet familiar tune. And I've been humming my own song. It reminds me of you. It reminds me of you. And the stars, they're shining over Tulsa. Gold in the night, I'm shrouded in blue. Oh, the stars, they're shining over Tulsa. And I hope that they're shining over you too. And the days are heavy, like a farmer I reap what I sow. But the goodness around me could break all the levees. Then why do I feel I must go? Then why do I feel I must go? and I can't make up my mind. I keep leaving things undone, like the sun through the leaves, like a brisk autumn breeze. There's hope when the morning does come. There's hope when the morning does come. And the stars, they're shining over Tulsa. Gold in the night, I'm shrouded in blue. Oh, the stars, they're shining over Tulsa. And I hope that they're shining over you too. We're all dreaming about something or someone till life closes in. Ain't it funny how things seem to work out all right in the end? All right in the end.
So good. Always good to see and hear Kaylin Faye wherever she is. Well, that is our show today. Thank you so much for joining us again to listen in on these conversations. We will have an all-new show next month, and we look forward to welcoming each one of you back here. Cherokees have no word for goodbye. We say, do-da-da-go-hunt-y. Until we see each other again. Wado.